Yeah, let's get some music going. Good morning. Good morning. I don't know who's going to join me live, and I'm happy to be here. I was so happy when I stumbled across this music and I decided to buy the license for this. It's called Cool Time. Anyhow, welcome, Spirit of Money. That's what we're talking about today. And, let's kill that. There we go. Let's get into this. So this morning, I'm out on a hike with the dog. I got a lot of stuff going around in my head. I've been, doing daily trades in the options world. I've been meeting with clients. I've been looking at the whole money thing again, and I just have to get this out into the world. And I don't know how it's going to come out. I don't know what I'm going to say. There's a lot of stuff around what I think I see going on in the world, and it's just my opinion. And you can do with it as you like. My invitation is this: to open up to listening to all sides of a conversation. There's never one right side. There's all sides of the conversation. And then as we do that, as we open ourselves up to different viewpoints, that's where we as individuals can make a decision for ourselves. However, we need to be willing to open up ourselves to the other side of any conversation, to hear what's resonating over there and to see if there's a subconscious narrative that we have running that is actually blocking our ability to see something different. So with that in mind, I got to go back because I got to thank these guys, Rush. In 1977, I heard the album 2112, and like a good teenage boy at that time, I got, the big record. I brought it home. I opened it up. The lyrics were in there, and I read the story of 2112 and the credit to Ayn Rand, which then had me go out and read some Ayn Rand, like crazy as that is. But I love the story in the beauty of somebody being, somebody having their art suppressed, that they didn't have the right to be free enough to, write the songs that they wanted to write and play the music that they wanted to play and have it be put out into the world, which is really what 2112 for Rush was, is that the music industry was coming down on them and saying, you can't do this. We want you to do this. And they stood in the place of, I would rather not play music and go back to the job I had before than to play something I'm not interested in playing, which, as an artist was a huge stand to make. So, perhaps that's where my inherent nature to want to look at different sides of what's going on comes from. So then we fast forward to, my first movement into the world of finance. And so we go back to 2001, 2000 area, where I read The Wealthy Barber. And actually that was 1998 that I read The Wealthy Barber, end of 1998. And it moved me into the world of money and started down that road. And, truth be told, I was fascinated by it. I thought, this is incredible. You could make money while you sleep. I had no idea that was possible up until then. I was a musician who just didn't get it. So, all of my passion for playing music went into finding everything out I could about finance. And, I did well. I played the game. I thought I understood what was going on and did my best to try to decipher what was happening and give good advice to clients. Then 2008 happens. And something in me was like, this doesn't make sense. I don't get it. And if I just keep doing what I just did for the last 8 years, from arguably from 2000 and 2008, I'm going to end up with the same results. Like that's crazy for me. So it forced me to start looking, and I kind of think of it like this, that there's a rock bed in front of me, and the job is to go around and pick up the rocks and see what the heck is under them. Like what is really operating this thing? What is it really standing on? Is it solid ground underneath, or is it actually, you know, arching over a couple of other rocks and it's just dead air under there? That's what I need to know. So along comes this gentleman into my office who presents to me a book to read, Becoming Your Own Banker, and it shifted my understanding. Well, it didn't shift. What it did is it opened up a new thought that I had to explore, which then brought me down the entire, rabbit hole of all sorts of theories, and you can call them conspiracy theories, whatever you want, about the creation of the Federal Reserve and the way money works in the world. And the key is the way money works in the world. That's what was inspired by that book, Becoming Your Own Banker. And from that, what I sought was, I wanted something that a catchphrase I caught on to was like sovereign wealth. How could I set up a system, not only for me, but for clients, that would have them in a position where they had more control over their wealth? Like that, the idea of sovereignty within the financial system was something I sought. And largely the only way I could see to do it at that time was through the properly structuring of certain types of insurance policies. And I still believe that today. I still stand on that today. I still have those in place today. But at the same time that 2013 happened, I also heard of Bitcoin, and I completely, shunned cryptography and Bitcoin, largely because I didn't understand it. And I wasn't interested in picking up that rock yet and having a look under it. However, now, now that I have actually decided to pick up that rock and start to look at it, I see inside of that this idea of sovereign wealth again. And so the title of this being The Spirit of Money is this idea that within our thought process, within our relationship to not only money, and I use money a lot simply because it defines so much of our experience in life. Like it is so defining on how we perceive our life looks, especially in our North American society. The whole idea of consumerism and what my neighbor has versus what I have. And, I got to get a better this and I get a better that. And when I get this and I get that, I'm going to be happy. And that whole train wreck of thinking is this idea of money behind it. And what's crazy about it, and here's what I think is crazy about it, is that we don't understand it. It wasn't until I went down this path of seeing the whole game of money and how it's created that I began to understand what the game is. And when you know the rules of the game, you can actually start to, make a dent into it. You can actually start to have outcomes in your favor. If you don't know the rules of the game, you're at the mercy of whatever advice that you're relying on instead of understanding what it is. So these properly structured insurance policies, this idea of Bitcoin, this whole cryptocurrency is all, in my view, uh, a desire for myself to get a handle on what is money and how can I have some sovereignty around it. And what I think is going on is that because the money is controlled in one central area, and they just can print it whenever they want to solve whatever problem they are dealing with in order to, keep their position, usually government, that power. They just print it out of thin air. It doesn't make any sense because there's no checks and balances. There's no balance sheet that they need to be accountable to. Look at your own life. Imagine if you just could invent more money anytime you made a bad decision and got into a little bit of trouble. You can't do it. It's not within your realm of possibility. However, the system that is supposedly designed to take care of us has that ability. And it doesn't make sense. Inherently, here's what here's what came up for me. And I don't know if this is true for you. I'm just sharing what's coming up for me. And I have no plan here, I'm just sharing. But what became evident to me is inside there was something not right. There was something that just didn't seem right to me about how this was all going down. And again, I was a rock musician. I played drums. I, I don't have an MBA. I'm not a financial wizard. I just can tune in to how I feel. And what I felt was something's not right, which inspired me to take a look. I can read. So, I have that. Thank goodness I have that ability. And I can go to YouTube University and listen to all sorts of things. And here's the thing, when I look at what's going on in the world today, and I bring it back to what was inspiring to me in 1976 or 77, whenever it was I first heard Rush 2112 and uncovered the story, it was the idea of freedom, the freedom to express, the freedom to choose, the freedom to be a whole person. That's what that means to me. And I see it being threatened today. I see that sovereignty and that freedom being challenged. And I don't know what to do about it except to just turn on this camera and this microphone and just share what's going on for me, what I'm feeling. I stood in front of Leslie this morning in tears because I can't be with what's happening. I can't be with the level of frustration, uh, the level of closure that people are feeling, the isolation that people are feeling, all of this stuff that's going on, especially, when I read stories about our youth and the suffering that they're going through. I don't, I don't have an answer. I will say though, what we're currently doing is actually not the solution. We need contact with one another. We need to be with people. The best ideas are formed through our ability to interact, our ability to challenge ideas, our ability to share openly, our ability to connect and go, that's a bunch of blah. I don't believe any of that. However, if we're not looking at the other side of an argument, there is no choice to be made. This whole idea of the freedom of speech is about that choice, that ability to make an informed decision. And sometimes, when I think about even like, let's look at Star Trek in 1960 coming out, that was crazy to think that would happen. Yet, we got to a space shuttle. It's it's those crazy ideas sometimes that are planted that have a lot of truth to them. And so, yeah, I'm going to go back and bring up Bitcoin because whether it works or not, whether it lasts or not, or maintains its value or fails, here's what it's done is it's shown up and said, what is happening in the world of money doesn't make sense. And here's how we know that, because more and more people are adopting it, because they feel something inside of them that's not quite right. Now, there's going to be those that are just out to make money. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of greed to go in the world. There's plenty of consumerism to go in the world. A lot of that stuff isn't going to change. However, in my thinking of the spirit of money, that spiritual element of it, that exchange of energy, right? That exchange of energy, that feeling of working for something and being rewarded through the payment of money that you can then go and purchase something or feed your family or live in your home, whatever that is, that whole element of exchange of human action. When I think of reading uh, von Mises' work and human action, and that whole ability for us as sovereign individuals to go out and create something and exchange it in the world and have that sense of contribution, that sense of completion, that sense of having done something. If that is taken away, if that is trounced upon, where are we? Our creative genius is what has moved us forward. Sometimes really good, sometimes really bad. And in all of those instances when it's bad, it gets corrected. At some point, it gets corrected. At least that's been the evidence so far. So I guess in closing, here's what I'm thinking. I invite you to take some time to look at other sides of an argument, to be open to what, maybe it's somebody in your family that has a different viewpoint. Maybe it's your brother or your sister or your mom or your dad or your kids that are, saying something different. And my invitation is to give them the opportunity to share what's going on, what they see, to take that on. This whole idea of, a couple of media outlets running everything and deciding what the narrative is and deciding what is okay for others to see, just, you know, it seems a little funny to me. Like there's something going on there that's not quite right. It's not quite right, at least for me. And I don't know how you feel, but if you have an inkling that that's not quite right, then, I don't know, let's say hi to each other. Like send me a text. I don't know, put something in Messenger, say hello. And if you don't like what I'm saying, yeah, you're gonna let me know about it. I know it. So, bring it on. It's okay. I can handle myself. I got good skin on me. Anyhow, I invite you to take a look. I invite you to see that, as much as there's some craziness out there, um, I think Bitcoin is here to stay. And if it's not, it's giving us a brilliant opportunity to look beyond. It's giving us an opportunity to see that maybe there's a deeper, bigger power struggle that is actually happening. They've printed $120 billion a month now for quite a while. We're talking about trillions of dollars just being manufactured. I hear these conversations about global minimum income. So again, it gets back to that idea. Like I'm not saying we shouldn't take care of people. This is not what this is about. But when I think about getting something for nothing, how does that work? How does that move society forward? How does that give anybody a sense of accomplishment to be given something for doing nothing? It doesn't make any sense to me. That's not what has brought us to this point. The idea of true creative capitalism is that ability for an idea to stand on its own merit or fail on its own merit. And yet we have a system that is bolstering up and supporting ideas that have failed miserably. And they failed miserably because we can see it in what's going on in the world. Those that have more than ever before, and those that do not have less than ever before. Right? The whole middle part of that conversation has disappeared. You can just go look at the data. What has happened to the middle income families? They're being wiped out. Is that a system that works? I don't think so. How does that actually serve? What, we just want to be, told what to do, have it, this is what is yours to do. No, I don't want that. I want to be able to put out an idea and have either people accept it or, tell me that the marketplace does not support this idea, Mr. DeShooter. we will not be sending you any checks because we think this is a bad idea. That's awesome. Now you can go back and, try to recreate something else or shape it differently or throw it out completely and come up with something new. Anyhow, that to me is the spirit of money. That ability to create, that ability to speak, that ability to be free, to have sovereignty over my choices, to make sure that inside of that sovereignty, I'm not going out hurting other people. I'm not taking advantage of other people. Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. It's, it's buyer beware. You can buy it at the price it's at or not. There's nobody that's telling you to do it. There's nobody that's saying, "Hey, come on over here," and manipulating you to make that investment. It's no different than somebody saying, "Hey, I want to buy shares in Apple because Apple has ideas." We don't know whether their ideas are going to be around tomorrow. We don't know if people are going to still want their next whatever it is they create. I'm not comparing that, Bitcoin to Apple in the terms of a business. I'm just saying that there's a freedom there. I can either invest in it or not. I can buy some or not buy some. Now, here's the thing. When I bought some, it changed me because I then began to look, and I have a podcast that I brought guests on. I've talked to many people about it. I've watched a ton of information, and I've watched many arguments against it because I used to be on the side of against it till I saw that whole piece of sovereignty that started me down a path in 2013. It was showing me, oh, this is actually in support of that sovereignty, which is very, very scary to those that can currently control the narrative, the spirit of money. All right. That's it. I'm out. Thank you. Have yourself an amazing day. It's been a great pleasure to share with you. And oh, here, we got to turn up this way. Here we go. There we go. That's the outro music. Now it's the same music as the intro. We're super creative here. All right, best band in the world, right there. Peace out.